Fridays at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the game recap show, because we're going to get into 49ers versus Lions, all the ins, all the outs. Alex, this will be exciting, painful, hurtful, exciting, a win in the end. But all of those things encompassed into one thing.
It's very true. It's going to be all of those things. We're going to recap this game top to bottom, start to finish, not looking at one quarter, not looking at one play, but this whole game in its entirety, 4 full quarters, just like 4 full downs, Tom Brady. You got to remember there's 4 of them. So make sure you hit that like button right now. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, that notification bell as well. That way you're notified as soon as our videos go live. Only 30% of the Cutback crew, Ant, has hit that notification bell. You're missing out on videos. You don't want to miss those, so make sure you smash that thing into oblivion. Join the Discord as well, because you'll know when videos go live because of Discord as well. It's synced with the YouTube channel. It's glorious. You'll love to see it. But Ant, let's get into some of these key matchups and things that happened. Offensively, for the 49ers offense, what did you have as the key matchup in this game?
It was going to be all about the offensive line for the 49ers against the defensive front seven for Detroit. And I thought the 49ers offensive line came out and established themselves early in this game. 49ers offense looked fantastic, minus the Jimmy Garoppolo, Alex Mack fumble early from the bad snap. After that, the offense rolled. They got it going early with Raheem Mostert getting to the outside on the sweeps, and he was really able to get out there. And then when they were cutting that off, he was able to hit the cutback lane and get up the field. It didn't last long, though, because he got hurt. But I thought that it didn't matter what running back was in, whether it was Elijah Mitchell or Jermichael Hasty that came in after that. There were holes and opportunities for these running backs to be able to make football plays and a lot of big-time plays. But I was very impressed with Elijah Mitchell. I thought he did a very good job of executing the offensive game plan, being able to get his foot in the ground, getting vertical, getting upfield when he was out on the edge, and that's ultimately why he had a touchdown. But the offensive line made it all happen. The offensive line gave Jimmy Garoppolo great protection in this game. Detroit very rarely got in there and made Jimmy look uncomfortable. I thought overall it was a great performance by the offensive line and a good reason why the 49ers offense worked so well and won this football game in the end.
You're accurate there. You're very, very accurate there. The way that they were able to utilize the run game and the way this offensive line, I felt, dominated that front 4, front 7 of the Detroit Lions. It was very obvious very early that Shanahan was toying with this team. They essentially didn't show a lot of their run game. I mean, I can't count how many times they ran the same sweep play out of different formations. It was astronomical. They started off the game running it almost back to back, and then leading into what looked like was going to be a third time running it, which then turned into a play action little boot after that to a wide freaking open. I believe it was George Kittle.
George Kittle, yeah, he worked across the formation. Yeah.
So I mean, it was very obvious that Shanahan was toying with these guys. He liked what he saw. They had their script, what they were going to do. They weren't stopping it. They weren't slowing it down. So they were just going to continue, basically rinse and repeat. And this is one of the things that I thought could happen and wanted to happen because it led into my offensive key matchup, right? And that was this 49ers slot receivers against A.J. Parker or whoever it was that was ended up going to be playing in the slot for Detroit. And you saw the way Deebo Samuel worked them over the middle of the field. You saw the success that George Kittle had operating in the middle of the field as well against this cornerback room. Jimmy Garoppolo carved these dudes up. Trey Lance in the red zone carved them up. Incredible route by Trent Sherfield in order to make it happen as well. Overall, top to bottom, the wide receiving core did what it needed to do in that matchup against A.J. Parker and the rest of this DB core. The DB core did not do what they were supposed to do. In fact, there was at one point in time, right, they panned to the sidelines with the camera, and the DB's coach for the Lions is screaming in the face. I forget his name, but it's their starting DB on the opposite side. Okudah, screaming in his face, "Do your job." Do your job. Do your job. They were just not on the same page.
Attitude
they weren't
reflects leadership, Captain.
Attitude reflect leadership, indeed. But they were struggling.
Yeah.
The secondary struggled a little bit, and the 49ers offense was rolling very early on. Obviously, things take a turn later in the game. That you can't deny that. But the Niners really weren't trying to put the foot on the throat offensively. They didn't try and throw the ball a whole lot in that fourth quarter. Once you got to about 10 minutes left in that game, they really went run heavy, and the Lions basically dared them to throw the football. They loaded that box and were determined to stop the run, slow it down, not give you anything. It looked like at times they had 9 or 10 guys in the box. They were just loading up, and Kyle Shanahan just stuck with that run game, didn't do a lot. And Jimmy Garoppolo made the right read at the end of the game, got the ball to Deebo, and unfortunately it ends up right in a first down and then subsequent fumble. That would have iced the game in its entirety. But the 49ers took the chances they needed to take when they needed to take them offensively. They torched the Lions over the middle of the field, and we even got to see a little bit of deep ball Jimmy taking shots down the sideline while also getting hit. Taking a shot outside the numbers to Deebo Samuel while getting hit. You can argue about whether or not the ball was like perfectly thrown. I'll give you that. But if you think that if you think that Jimmy Garoppolo was trying, just missed on that throw and Deebo just makes a lucky catch. Jimmy was definitely trying to put that ball on his back shoulder. You can tell from the route that the corner is on top of it for the entirety of the route. You're not going to be able to beat that thing over the top. It's going to have to go on the back shoulder. And Jimmy doesn't do a full follow through that throw. And I know he's got pressure in his face, but he was definitely trying to put that ball on the back side of Deebo Samuel. And luckily for us, Deebo Samuel, very good athlete, not a gadget wide receiver player like some people are saying. He is just a full-fledged wideout who can do everything you need him to do, is an absolute savage, comes back, makes a play, and then just does Deebo Samuel things and runs after the catch better than anyone else in the league.
The offense was absolutely rolling. I mean, it was. The 2, 3, 4 drive, their second, third, and fourth drive, there's absolutely rolling. We didn't see Mitch Wisnowski until the third quarter.
It was beautiful, too.
The 49ers were executing on all cylinders, and the only things that really stopped drives, especially in the third quarter, were penalties, right? You had the intentional grounding penalty. You had a couple offsides penalties, things that were moving the 49ers backwards. That is what cost drives. You had the one where Jimmy Garoppolo could have put the ball out in front of Deebo Samuel and converted a first down. He did miss on that one. I think he'll admit that. If he gets that ball out in front of Deebo gets a first down and extends the drive. But overall, you expect those things to happen occasionally. But Jimmy Garoppolo threw for over 300 yards in this football game and a big-time 79-yard touchdown to Deebo Samuel. Those are things that you want from Jimmy Garoppolo. We want him taking these shots. In the end, does it matter what he was trying to do? It doesn't. As long as the ball gets completed to Deebo Samuel, as long as they're on the same page, you execute the touchdown, you get it done. But you're right. These guys took advantage of the Detroit Lions over the middle where Deebo Samuel operates at a high level and where Jimmy Garoppolo likes to live. And when they were running the boots, he was getting the ball to George Kittle out in space where he can make plays. The plan hasn't changed for what Kyle Shanahan wants to do to attack defenses. Detroit presented him with good opportunities to do that. You had a couple of times where they would bring a backside blitz, and then when he came out on the boot, the guy would be there. Mark Sanchez actually did a pretty good job announcing and analyzing and talking about the rookie running back Elijah Mitchell. On the one of them, should have ran straight out there to pick up the blitzer and not run the play action and just go void with the running back there to make sure you have the proper protection on the pass play. But to me, the 49ers offense looked good. I was encouraged by how they looked overall, the execution, whether it was, like you said, through the pass game or just the way the offensive line played. Jimmy Garoppolo played well as well, very well. And Trey did what he was supposed to do when he came in there. So I thought overall it looked good. I look for the expansion of this offense to continue, especially once Brandon Ayuk gets even more healthy and is able to do more things. Then the 49ers can fully unveil what they plan on doing.
And look, I know us 49ers fans are freaking out a little bit. Kyle Shanahan in his presser post-game talked about this a little bit with Brandon Ayuk, that currently in the wide receiving pecking order, that is that the wide receiver room, he's a little bit lower on it right now because he's been dealing with an injury. It's not performance-based. It's not Brandon Ayuk's in the doghouse. It's not Brandon Ayuk is getting the Dante Pettis treatment. It's Brandon Ayuk has been injured. He's not 100% healthy yet. He was good enough to go, and the 49ers are easing him back into it. And once he's fully healthy, obviously Brandon Ayuk will fly up the pecking order back to near the top, if not in the top spot, and won't be used as a decoy, which I think that's the thing you and I are both the most excited about, is getting to this all-22, right? Getting to watch this film from a coach's perspective and get the coaching angles on this and really look at what were the Lions doing? What were they trying to take away? Did the Niners have a good game plan in place offensively? We feel like it was already. How great was it, and what areas did they take advantage of? And as well as get a look at the defense, right? And what worked well early. What were some of the big questions with the run game and things of that nature. But Elijah Mitchell does an incredible job filling in for Raheem Mostert. Goes in there, does the things that he needs to do. JaMycal Hasty does an incredible job as the short down back, filling in for the Trey Sermon role, which we thought was going to be Trey Sermon, ends up being JaMycal Hasty. He punches one in the red zone, has some big catches on third down. The first down completion, right? He catches that in space. Could have just lowered his shoulder and got in. Does an incredible job of slowing down, stopping, and making a jump cut inside to miss 2 defenders and then get upfield and get the first down. I know you weren't the biggest fan of that. You wanted him to just get there.
Get vertical. Get the first down.
Just get it because it was right there already. I'll take the creativeness. It's not always going to work, though, Jamichael, Mr. Tasty Hasty, so make sure that you get those first downs. He did get it in that situation. He did extend that drive. But overall, top to bottom, everyone on this offense contributed. Everyone on this offense had moments where they pitched in and did something, whether it was Trey in the red zone, whether it's Trent Sherfield, third down catches over the middle, or whether it was that little Cowboy zig route on the inside at the goal line. Elijah Mitchell, obviously, with big runs and big long touchdown runs and filling in the Raheem Mostert role and taking the brunt of the carries. George Kittle slipping out in space on play action stuff. Deebo Samuel pretty much everywhere on the field. And Mohamed Sanu on a couple key third downs.
Yeah, they took advantage of the weapons that they had against the personnel and scheme that they were going against. And I thought overall they executed well, especially when you're going against a team that you have a lot of unknowns. Yeah, you know who the coaches are over there, but this is the first year you're getting to see their scheme. You knew what Anthony Lynn was going to do on the offensive side, but the defensive side with Glenn as the defensive coordinator was a little bit more confusing of what you were going to see. Were you going to see a lot of different concepts that you're not used to? So a lot of it was adjusting on the fly. I thought overall the 49ers had a huge, great, excellent game plan. Raheem Mostert, it could have been a big issue. Last year it would have been a big issue because they didn't have the speed to continue to run the outside zone and the outside sweeps. This year they do because they were able to get Elijah Mitchell out there. He showed the speed. He was able to break the big 38-yard touchdown. And overall, break arm tackles was very creative. I mean, there were small holes and tiny windows for him to get through, and he was getting through them. And there was one play where he literally, Trent Williams is bringing his guy all the way across, washing all the way from the left side. The run's going to the right. And Mitchell gets really skinny and small, and puts himself right on Trent's back and gets through the hole and ends up getting 7 or 8 yards. It's a fantastic play. I'm looking forward to breaking that one down because it's one of those things a young player won't always do. They won't always see that as a hole. A hole can be, really small, 12, 18 inches, and sometimes they'll look for something bigger. But he's not. He's one of those guys that gets in there and makes plays. I like the physicality. I like the forward lean. I like the way he runs. Everything we've been talking about has been fun, and I like that he got to spin. I think we can feel comfortable about the running back room again. And Jamichael Hasty operated the Jet McKinnon role better than Jet McKinnon was ever able to do in San Francisco. 100% the third down back, able to execute in space, making catches out of the backfield. That run he made on the goal line, he completely presses to the line of scrimmage, jump cuts, explodes toward the goal line, enough so that Jimmy Garoppolo is in the background celebrating before he ever even crosses the goal line. It is one of my favorite things during the game. That was fun to watch. But yeah, the running back room looked great to go with this great offensive line that played well. And we got a very good performance from Mike McGlinchey too. Mm-hmm. So once the run game is going, Mike McGlinchey's in places to be successful, positions to be successful, and he's able to do that. So yeah, overall it was a very exciting performance from the offensive line and the receivers, and the running backs paid off in a big way and had some huge conversions. Big time, they definitely did, and this leads into the thing we need to talk about, which are these straight beast performers of the game on offense. Each and every week, every game, no matter whether it's a 49ers win, whether it's a 49ers loss, there's always a few people to highlight on the offense that were the straight beasts that outperformed everybody else, and we got a couple for you today. It's time for Straight Beast. Boom, boom, boom. It's Straight Beast time. Alex, who did you have for your Straight Beast on offense? We have individually each one, as well as a cutback Straight Beast because there were so many high caliber performers to that. True. Look, you and I both had a couple of guys in mind, but I have to give it to this gentleman because it all could have fallen apart after that first drive and that subsequent second drive. First drive, fumble snap. Second drive, you get the team all the way down the field, and then Trey Lance comes in the red zone and throws the touchdown pass. In fact, so bad, that I got a text message from my father saying, "Poor Jimmy. Poor Jimmy." And I'm like, dude, poor Jimmy. This is the Shanaplan right here. This is exactly what we thought was going to happen. Jimmy gets you all the way down the field. You put Trey in. Defense does some crazy stuff, and then you're able to exploit a matchup. Like, I'm excited about it. I'm thinking we're going to see more of the Shanaplan. No, we didn't see a whole lot more of the Shanaplan after that. It was all Jimmy freaking Garoppolo all game long. Jimmy GQ shows out in a big way. 300-plus yards throwing. Throws a touchdown as well. No interceptions. He had the fumble early on, and I'm still not convinced that it was on Jimmy. It looked like he got short-armed there by Alex Mack that first snap. I don't want to put blame on anybody because after that mistake,
there were really no mistakes from this offense for the rest of the game. Jimmy operates this offense at a high level, and the best part, we get to see a little bit of deep ball Jimmy as well, just a little taste of it. I always love it when deep ball Jimmy shows out. I always love it when we get Jimmy Garoppolo out there slinging the ball for 300-plus yards. Everyone's been knocking this guy, talking about it. Just trade him, just deal him. It's Trey's team. It's Trey's time. It's both of these guys' time, but today it was Jimmy's time.
Yes, you made a good pick because Jimmy played very well, and one of the parts of his game that's the most impressive is cerebral part of the game. The fact that he was able to can plays, get the 49ers into good situations. I seen him at one point move Deebo Samuel and I think it was Trent Sherfield from one side of the formation to the other and then motion to get a look that he wanted. He's in full operation of this offense. He has full control of this offense. That's why you want somebody like Jimmy Garoppolo on your team, especially why Trey Lance is trying to learn. Once Trey Lance gets to that level of operation, you can expect him to be able to operate it the same way because he's a very intelligent guy. But Jimmy excels in that area. That's why he's a leader on this football team. And you're right, the performance was great. He looked very clean. He had clean pockets. Whenever Jimmy has clean pockets, he's going to be able to not do big steps, but a little bit of a step into his throw, but really get his hips into it and throw and make strikes down the field. The first one he threw to Deebo over the middle was an absolute strike. Deebo was able to get a little bit of yardage out of it, and that's why Deebo Samuel is my straight beast in this game. Deebo was making plays all over the place, whether it was going vertical down the field and making the 79-yard touchdown or just catching the ball over the middle and breaking tackles, getting first downs. He looked like vintage Deebo Samuel. You even got a little reverse at it or a little fly sweep action out of him. Of course, it's a push pass, so I guess it counts as a receiving yards. But it just looked like a guy that we could count on. Once again, always blocking down the field. Deebo Samuel brings the intensity, brings physicality. You're having to face mask this guy. You just have an opportunity to try to stop him from getting down the field. So I thought he looked very good. I was very encouraged also about his speed on the 79-yard touchdown play, where he's able to outrun the Detroit defenders because you worry about him with his legs, but he looks fresh. He looks ready to go. And I'm excited about the prospects of him in this 49ers offense moving forward. He
looks nimble as all can be, Ant. I love watching Deebo Samuel operate. And fantasy owners love those push passes, so don't you knock them because you get the additional point for the reception. You get the additional point for the reception, then whatever yards come from it, my guy. I'll tell you what, I wish I'd reached a little earlier on Deebo, but it is what it is. I'll save that for the fantasy show on Patreon, so make sure you hop over there as well. And then the cutback straight beast, because there were so many great performers on offense. We have to acknowledge, right? Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah.
The things that he did, the situation he got thrust into as a rookie who played a portion of a preseason game, has been dealing with the hip adductor stuff, comes in, balls out, shows out. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan had some faith that if we got this guy an opportunity to get some snaps, he was going to shine, and he absolutely did. 100-plus yards. And you found a stat, interestingly enough, too, didn't you?
Yeah, he's the first rookie running back to go over 100 yards in week one. The next closest to him is Alfred Morris. Oh, from a fourth round and beyond.
Fourth round pick and beyond, 100-plus yards.
The closest was Alfred Morris, who was also a sixth-round pick in 2012 for the Washington football team, coached by Kyle Shanahan, offensive coordinator, and Bobby Turner, running back coach. Shocking how that happened. And everyone remember, Alfred Morris goes for 1,600 yards in that season. I don't expect him to go for 1,600, Elijah Mitchell, but it was a very, very solid performance. Definite reason for him to be straight beast. And now we completely understand why Bobby Turner stood on a table and said he wanted this guy in the sixth round, and why DeMeco Ryan said, yeah, go get yourself a running back.
Go get yourself a running back. We'll be fine. We'll find a way to get some other linebackers in here. Elijah Mitchell has himself a day. Definitely a straight beast. But now, Ant, we can turn our attention to the defense and what happened on the defensive side of the ball. There were some bad stuff. There wasn't some great things out of the running back play, but they're slowing down the running game. But we'll get to that. What was your defensive key matchup, and how do you think we fared?
My key matchup was Jared Goff versus DeMeco Ryans, because I really thought DeMeco Ryans needed to scheme it up and throw Goff off his game. I thought early on, Goff was making some plays, and then at some point, once the run game got stymied there for a little bit, the run game was going early. The vertical run game up the middle was getting going, and that created opportunities for Jared Goff to be able to break containment, get on the outside, and then make plays down the field. He was a little bit successful in that. But once DeMeco Ryans added in the run blitzes, got the safeties involved around the box, was able to bring pressures. You saw Goff kind of struggle a little bit. That's when the inconsistencies came. He got a little bit weak, and he wasn't able to make all the plays down the field that he wanted to do. So he had a lot of checkdowns today where linebackers are making tackles. So I thought DeMeco Ryans did a very good job with him. I think, and if you look at the score, you're not going to understand that he did a very good job because, unfortunately, he ran prevent for pretty much the entire fourth quarter, and it looked out of hand. But I thought that DeMeco Ryans did a good job of confusing Goff, getting pressure in his face, using the defensive line matchups, including the cool matchup that we got to see with Ford, Bosa, Ebukam, and Armstead out there together, where they were able to get pressure into Goff's face and create plays, including D Ford getting up underneath the tackle, pushing him into Goff, and creating a turnover where Greenlaw takes it to the house.
It was impressive. It was what it needed to be. DeMeco Ryans, I thought, did a phenomenal job, except for late, and even then, I'm not willing to put that on DeMeco Ryans in that matchup against Jared Goff, because if I don't know if 49ers fans remember, very early into that third quarter, they put up a stat on the screen of the amount of targets the receivers had. They had been targeted 3 times for a total of 2 catches. The running backs have been targeted over 14 times, and the tight ends have been targeted over 15 times. So you're sitting and looking at a situation in which they're not able to get the ball out there in space. He's really having to rely on his checkdowns, which is something we thought was going to happen. And the 49ers, up until that point, had only given up 10 points. There wasn't a lot going on for this Detroit football team, and throughout that third quarter, same thing. It was pretty much a nil. That is definitely a win in my book. Obviously, it doesn't end up being a win late just because they sit back and give them a lot of things. But some things happened to cause that, and we'll get to it. We'll talk about it here in a little bit, because my defensive key matchup was this edge rush, these pass rush, right? The edge of pain against the young guy, Penei Sewell, who got shoved over and moved over from right tackle to left tackle. I would say overall, when Bosa was on the field, when Ford was on the field, when Ebukam was on the field, it was pretty much a win. Penei still had some moments where he looked solid. He definitely didn't look as rusty as I thought he was going to look. He looked very comfortable over there at the left tackle spot, but Bosa bullied him a lot when he was over there. He was able to get a lot of pressure and get Penei Sewell back on his heels. But Penei Sewell operated very, very honorably. I do feel he was getting a little handsy, especially on the outside, getting a lot of holds there on Nick Bosa, but Nick Bosa ate him up a lot. And on the other side of the football, D Ford was smoking over there. He was looking good. Samson Ebukam as well. Armstead a couple times out there in space. Looked fantastic when he was playing on the edge. It wasn't the extreme dominating performance I was expecting, but in that fourth quarter, when the Lions were going to be throwing the most, those guys weren't on the field. They were getting a lot of rest, and so we didn't get to see them necessarily pin their ears back and go. There were other guys out there in space, and those guys got tired.
Yeah, and these guys got to come in towards the end of the game and really finish it off. You saw the last drive, once Ford and Bosa got back in there, you saw the pressure, and Ebukam as well, bringing pressure up the middle. So they definitely are game changers, and they were able to take advantage, especially in the middle of this football game. They were able to really get Goff off his game. I thought it was a great defensive performance. Once again, if you're looking at this from maybe the end of the first quarter and through the middle of the third quarter, the 49ers defense was very dominant. It's just there's the problems with the very first part of the game. Maybe they did some things that they weren't expecting defensively because you don't know exactly what you're going to get from a new offensive scheme. And then later on in the game, they just ran prevent too long. And sometimes prevent can prevent you from winning. Luckily, the 49ers didn't let that happen. But you don't expect also a onside kick to get recovered by the other opposing team or the fumble by Deebo Samuel. If the onside kick doesn't get recovered by Detroit, the 49ers are definitely able to continue to sit into that prevent and win the football game. So it wasn't a great performance top to bottom, but it was a very solid performance. And I thought both the defensive line and the coordinator did a very good job of adjusting, especially in the middle of the game when he went to run blitzes and was able to help the interior defensive line, who was definitely struggling a little bit without big Javon Kinlaw out there.
Absolutely, and that's one of the big questions now heading into this game against the Eagles. The interior run game for the Detroit Lions looked solid. It looked really good. And while Miles Sanders isn't known for being an interior run guy, if the Eagles can establish a run game, that's something they're going to try and look to do because it takes the pressure off of Jalen Hurts having to operate in space, and now with questions at the cornerback room as well. If you're able to establish the run game, and you're going to have to force guys to come up in the box and send a little bit more pressure, you're going to force these corners on the outside to be singled up one-on-one, and you got some speedy receivers out there. Mr. Devontae Smith had himself a nice little day for the Eagles as well in Week 1. So now there's going to be a lot of questions going into this Week 2 football game. But with Week 1 now in the books and out of the way, how concerned are you about this run defense, interior run defense, and can Javon Kinlaw all by his lonesome shore some of this up?
Yeah, he can, because he eats up blocks. These guys were eating up double teams, in the interior, and I think that Javon Kinlaw is a guy that can eat a double team and still hold his ground and push them into the backfield. He's that kind of freak. But the 49ers had made an effort, and remember, even though they're getting gashed, they're not getting broke. You know what I
Also
mean?
true.
They're allowing yards to happen, but then they're clamping down when they need to and making plays. They have different situations that they're going to face against Philly because Philly has a running mobile quarterback.
Also true.
So it's going to put stress on the outside guys. But I don't think Philly ultimately has the vertical run game or the interior offensive line that Detroit has. So it's going to be a different type of offense, a different prospect. Are they going to try to run inside early against the 49ers? Yes, because they're going to see the film and they're going to see that that's a possibility. But I think the 49ers will keep mixing it up, keep changing it up. And whatever D'Amico Ryans did, well, I know what he did, but whatever he did in that middle of that game is something that knows he can go to because Tart was able to make plays in the backfield, and so was Jimmy Ward. So when you're able to use those run blitzes, you can be successful. Fred Warner as well. A question will be also how healthy is Dre Greenlaw. If he's not healthy, you have a little bit more questions. I don't know if I feel as comfortable with Flanagan Foles out there as I do with a base 4-3 set that has Greenlaw and Alshire, surrounding Fred Warner. So there are decisions, there are big questions coming up for Philly, but no, I'm not too worried about it because I think we still have the defensive line depth and ability to stop the Eagles' run.
Absolutely, and we don't know where Kinlaw's going to be, and if Kinlaw's healthy and ready to go, that can change a lot of different things. And I agree with you. I think he does have a big impact just in terms of how you can move people around. Because in certain situations with DJ Jones just out there with whether it's Kevin Givens or Kentavious Street, you can double up DJ, make things a little bit harder, and then single up with a Givens or a Street. Whereas if you got DJ Jones and Kinlaw out there, or Zach Kerr and Kinlaw out there, or Hurst and Kinlaw out there, it's going to be really hard to double up one of them and not double up the other one as well and single one of those guys up. They're going to definitely get a bigger push. Or if you're going to do a situation, right, where you're going to double up on Kinlaw, well, now DJ's fighting with more single coverage, right, on that interior offensive line, which is more matchups that he can win and help, cause some more havoc and get into that backfield and disrupt a little bit more and take away some of those running lanes. When a couple of times when Bosa had inside moves on Penei Sewell, the tackle over there, and was able to blow up some of the runs, you saw some of the success that they were able to have. With Bosa making an interior stunt move and they filled someone else out around to set the edge, per se. So there's definitely going to be some more creative ways that they attack and find ways to disrupt that interior run game for whatever team they end up facing. I'm looking forward to getting Kinlaw back out there to see what that looks like. I'm also looking forward to see whatever the Niners decide to do with this DB room now, because with Jason Verrett going down with what appears to be an ACL, and at this point in time, the Niners may have come out already and confirmed it. The MRI results may be back already, who knows? But with Verrett down now with an ACL, you're going with, if Mosley's ready to go and available, Emmanuel Mosley, and what it seems to be Diamador Lenore. How much longer is Josh Norman going to need in order to be ready to go? I imagine no matter what, he's going to be operating now in week 2.
Yeah, Josh Norman's going to see some playing time. I don't know if he'll be a starter. I don't know if he'll be a backup. Those are all things that we don't know because we don't get to see practice daily. You don't get to see what they see on film. So there are big questions there. One thing I will say is also another thing about this run game is the 49ers came out expecting for them to run some of the Rams concepts. That's why they brought Alshire up to the line of scrimmage so he can help with the bootleg. It didn't work out early, but that is why you're more vulnerable in the middle because you've taken one of your base 4-3 linebackers and put them on the outside. They weren't wrong in what they thought. It's just the execution wasn't always there. Now, there are questions with the secondary. Who's going to start? I think we can be encouraged by what Diamador Lenore did in this game. The fact he wasn't really tested means he probably had pretty good coverage. So that is a good sign for the 49ers. The 49ers can definitely build off that. There are going to be questions that need to be answered because, like you said, Josh Norman, is he going to be healthy or is he going to be ready to go in week 2? I seen his press conference. He said basically he was always planning on coming in week 1. So he's been preparing for this. He's been working on his own, getting prepared. But losing Jason Verrett is a huge loss. I mean, that is a big time blow to that defense. I think the next worst one in the secondary would be something like a Jimmy Ward. So the fact that he stayed healthy in this game, that Jaquiski Tartt stayed healthy, are good signs. We can get Emmanuel Mosley back, and then we can get a very healthy Josh Norman out there. I think that we can kind of stave off some of the problems early on in this season. The one area I'm going to worry about is the fact that we're going to have to stop Devontae Smith and we're going to have to stop Jalen Reagor on deep vertical routes. If Jalen Hurts has the time or is able to extend plays, they are going to be able to execute down the field, which is a weakness for the 49ers. With Jason Verrett, you didn't have to worry about one side of the ball. Now you could have to worry about that side. So that is something that makes me nervous because I don't see Norman being just a quick speed guy that can handle it. He's going to have to get a nice press, at the line of scrimmage, but they can create for these other two guys. The only thing we got going for us is somebody like a Smith is small, so hopefully you can get on him, be physical, and impede him from getting down the field early in pass routes.
You hope so. That's going to have to be the case. I'm concerned about obviously just what this means for this DB room. I'm concerned about what happens and where we're going to be at if Emmanuel Moseley isn't good to go now heading into week 2. I still have questions about Josh Norman. I know that we've watched some film and I felt better about Josh Norman, but you know what I didn't feel?
Right.
I didn't feel like if Jason Verrett went down that we were all locked up now at the DB position because we brought in Josh Norman.
Oh, I don't think anyone could think that because you had an all-pro level player in Jason Verrett.
Correct.
I don't think anyone thinks, no one thinks that this is going to be okay.
No.
What it is going to be, though, is you can make it serviceable because you can find ways to confuse, find ways to help. There's all kinds of things you can do and take advantage of matchups. You just have to be more strategic, more smart. You can definitely still get it done with Josh Norman, Deommodore Lenoir, whoever it is out there. It's just a little more difficult without Jason Verrett because he afforded you opportunities to do other things, blitzing guys, in areas because you knew you could run man coverage there. Now you might not be able to do that. But we don't know what Norman can do either. Last year he wasn't healthy. He had the hamstring all season. He was never 100%. So we haven't seen full speed Josh Norman. So I'm not going to go ahead and say that he can't be something. A lot of people weren't expecting Richard Sherman to be something when he came, and then 2019 happened. He played very well. So why not? Why not Norman with this type of defense, with this type of defensive line?
So true.
This defensive line played good enough. They're only going to improve because the more snaps that you get from these guys together, especially Nick Bosa and D Ford, they're just going to get better. This is their first game that they've played in almost a year. So this is going to be good. And D Ford got his first sack since November of 2019. So let's remember that. Yeah.
That was great to see.
The double nickel is back.
I loved it. Indeed. This is definitely, it feels like right now, especially if Mosley's good, short term, like really significantly short term, we can be okay. I wonder if the 49ers coaching staff and the front office feels that way as well, or if they're going to rush into a decision. They have never been an organization with this group to rush in decisions and go out and make a desperate move. But with Jason Verrett seemingly on the shelf now for the year, there's definitely going to be some more moves to be made and a name to be brought in to help lessen the blow because you can't fully take it away. I don't think there's any way. I know people keep talking about Stephon Gilmore, but I believe Stephon Gilmore's on the PUP list. So if Stephon Gilmore is in fact on the PUP list, you're talking about 8 weeks. And if he's on the PUP list, the Niners aren't going to be able to trade for him. The only way he's getting out of New England is if they reach an injury settlement and he's able to get cut, which isn't going to happen. They're not just going to walk away from Stephon Gilmore midseason because the Niners need a DB or need a corner. So there's still a lot of names out there, and there's still a lot of things to plan out and play out. I just don't expect it to happen right now.
No, they're going to be patient. They brought in Norman. They had an expectation for what Norman was going to be. I think they fully expected him to be playing with Jason Verrett. I don't think they thought he was going to be covering for Jason Verrett. But they made that move, and now they've somewhat insulated themselves in case something happened to JV or to Emmanuel Moseley. Unfortunately, that has been a weakness for the 49ers. They drafted 2 rookies. One of those rookies is stepping up. The other one is still developing and needs a lot of time. But there's no reason to make a quick decision and make a quick choice early on in this season. Let's see how these guys pan out. Let's see how Josh Norman plays. Let's see how Deommodore Lenoir plays with consistent playing time. Get them out there. Let them see what they can do early in this season. And if you have to make a decision later on, you do it. As we approach the trade deadline, as we get 3 and 4 games into this season, if you start hearing, qualms about somebody coming in because you have issues in the secondary, you do it. Because we don't know what it's going to be. We don't know what they can come up with. I don't know. Have you seen anything bad from Deommodore Lenoir? I haven't seen anything bad from Deommodore Lenoir.
Nothing that makes me think that, there's big concerns and big questions. Obviously, the only question I have with Moseley is health.
Yeah,
there's going to be things in areas of his game where he's not Jason Verrett, so he's liable and susceptible in certain areas of the game, and occasionally on the deep ball, especially if he's being too aggressive on the press. But for the most part, I feel okay with this room, and I don't feel you don't have to necessarily make the drastic leap to let's trade the farm or trade some pieces to bring another name in right now, so we solidify and shore it up. Because if Demo is continuing to develop at the rate he's developing, and he's not getting torched deep. He's given up some stuff underneath, and teams are able to extend some drives that they normally wouldn't. But we get into the red zone, he's able to lock down, or you get into the red zone right, and you throw Josh Norman out there, and Josh Norman's able to lock down, and Demo comes off the field. And the Niners are able to take teams, and what would have been touchdowns or 6 points end up becoming 3 consistently. You can survive on that. You can win football games in this league that way. You just hope that eventually Deommodore Lenoir will be in a situation where he could come back around and take some of those underneath stuff. But nothing that I saw today lends me to believe that Deebo Samuel is even a guy who's going to do something like that, because they weren't going his way. I was stunned by how very little they attacked Deebo Samuel. They were going more at Jason Verrett than they were Deebo Samuel in a lot of situations, which surprised me. I thought, if you're Jared Goff and the Lions here, the Detroit Lions, you're seeing the rookie, the fifth round rookie out there and being like, let's go at this dude. Let's see if this guy's got something. Now, is that because they just don't have the guy to go after him with? Or was it, they put the speedy guy out there and he just wasn't able to beat Deebo Samuel? I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Next week, though, is going to be a big test indeed.
Yeah, it is. They got some quick receivers. And I wonder what would happen if the 49ers needed to reach out and sign Sherman, because you are going to have it. If Verrett is out and Mosley's out for this game, maybe they do need to bring in an extra corner. Would it be all that bad? I know it's not what we want, but couldn't the 49ers win football games with Josh Norman and Richard Sherman out there playing cover 3? I mean, really, we've proven that they've won football games doing that before. Richard Sherman played cover 3, opposite Emmanuel Mosley or Akilla Witherspoon. It's not what you want to do. It's not the defense you want to be running. But sometimes you have to make moves to, be able to win football games. So maybe that's something they have to go back to. If Richard Sherman comes back, it could signal that. What we're hoping is Mosley's back. He could play with Norman and Lenore, and then you're sitting comfortable. Not great, but you're sitting comfortable in what you have, and you're okay with that. But I think it does bring up big questions. We'll see what happens this week. Hopefully Mosley's ready to go.
We need him to be ready to go indeed, Ant. Let's hope that he's able to get back and get going, because that will take some of the questions off and take a little bit of pressure off the secondary and even the rookie in Deebo Samuel, because he'll have some extra additional help behind him with Josh Norman being able to play wherever you need him to play. But let's get into the players on defense who stood out, the players who had themselves quite a day. It's time for The Block is Hot.
Yeah, it's Block is Hot time, which means defensive standout players. Alex, and my guy was somebody that I don't think a lot of people thought was going to play this year. A lot of people had already wrote him off, that he was going to be gone, he was going to be done.
Injury prone, man.
Injury prone, but you know what? He persevered, he worked really hard, and he showed up in a big way in this game. I thought he affected a lot of plays and got to the quarterback, and that is Dee Ford. It was so nice to see the double nickel out there making plays. It was good to see him playing with power, with speed. There is a sequence that he plays where he literally pushes the offensive tackle into Goff for one play. That results in a turnover. The next time he's out there, the very first time he goes right around the offensive tackle and gets to the quarterback. It's a great play. The very next play after that, he gives the same sort of outside move and then sticks inside, and they have to hold him, and it becomes a holding call. Dee Ford was out there affecting everything on offense. He looked very good out there. That's what I've been saying for a while now. When you get an offensive lineman and he has to prepare for a speed rush and the power, it's a lot harder than just preparing for a speed rush. That is what Dee Ford brings to this football team. And once again, that's why he's the closer of this defensive line.
Absolutely, and it showed today. He had his moments. He had his situations where he absolutely dominated opposite of Bosa out there in space. And this is what I mean, is they really they put them on the bookends today. We didn't get to see them flip-flopping around and moving to other places as we get further and further into the season, and as Bosa and Kittle get more and more comfortable, and as DeMeco Ryans gets more and more comfortable with the D-line, where their health is at, where their conditioning is at, you're going to start seeing pieces move all over that interior line. It won't just be necessarily Ebukam operating solely inside next to Armstead. You'll have situations where maybe Armstead is moving inside next to Bosa or Ford, or Armstead and Ebukam on one side, Bosa and Ford on the other, and just going. But today was a good showing for Dee Ford. We love seeing him back. And Ant, I'm so glad that we took the time to do the film breakdown, right?
Yeah.
The three of us did the film breakdown talking about Dee Ford's impact. Ends up paying off big dividends here in week one. And another guy who impressed and shut out today. And this was one of the guys that I had questions about. You've heard me say it on the podcast before. Cutback crew has as well. Al-Shaair. Is this guy capable? Can this guy operate in space? Can he cover in the flats when he needs to? Can he come up and shore up against the run? There were some questions in that first drive, right? They were able to boot Goff out of the pocket. Shaair biting inside on some of those play fakes when he needs to just sit on that outside shoulder. And if Goff pulls and tries to boot, you're there to eat him up or force him to make a tough throw or a quick throw. That ends up being a turnover. We didn't get that early. Mm-hmm. But what we did get later was an Al-Shaair who was filling up, making surefire tackles, who was covering out in the flats. couple of huge tackles for loss on situations where pass rush came and Goff had to quickly dump the ball off and Alshire was ready for it and breaking on the football. The things Alshire did today made me feel a whole heck of a lot better about this linebacking core after Fred Warner and after Dre Greenlaw. Alshire has improved. D'Amico Ryans has done an incredible job of helping this guy get to where he is today. And today, it all comes to fruition. He puts together, I thought, an almost 4 full quarters game of great football and great play from Alshire. I'm looking forward to seeing him continue to develop and stay healthy because we need this guy to stay healthy. I don't want to have to go any further into the bag than we already have to. I do feel very comfortable with Marcel Harris, though, especially in coverage situations if we get there. But Alshire right now, tip my hat to you, my guy. I was worried. I'm less worried today.
He excelled in the pass game. I really did. He was all over, recognizing concepts and making nice tackles. When he needed to make them short of the sticks. Those are all things you want to see out of a linebacker. And he did it well. The one thing I want to see when we get into the All-22 is I want to watch his run fits, see how he was getting downhill, see if he was being able to get involved in the run game. And if he was, then he played a very complete game. Overall, I thought he played well, but I want to see if he played that complete game, you are feeling very, very confident about this 49ers linebacker core, especially those base 3 guys, that they're going to be on your base 4-3 downs. They're going to be able to make plays, and they're able to do everything, whether it's stop the pass or stop the run. So that was a big move. That was a nice pick by you because he's a solid player who had himself one heck of a football game. And I liked it overall, and I like what he can do, and I'm encouraged for what he can do in the future. Absolutely.
It's going to be very important and crucial for this defense and this linebacking core to be able to slow this run game down and continue to grow and develop with this defensive line, and continue to show out and improve and impress. Because there are no shortage of talented running backs in this league, and there's no shortage of talented wide receivers in the NFC West. So there are going to be situations and times where if we end up getting caught in a 4-3 base down situation with tight ends out there or running backs out in space, Shire's going to have to step up.
Yeah, 100%, and he's capable to do it, and he proved it today that he's more than capable to make plays.
Absolutely, and from straight beasts and block as hot defensive players of the game, and we got to talk about the guys who bring the wood, who lay the hammer down, the smacketh down all over the Detroit Lions. It's time for the hurt business.
Yeah, and the Hurt Business had lots of members today because the 49ers were bringing the heat, they were bringing the wood, they were making a lot of plays, and we wanted to kind of induct some of these people into the Hurt Business. Alex, the first one is the guy we just talked about, Alshire. He was out there smacking people, making plays short of the sticks, but he was really hitting hard, bringing the wood, separating the ball from player. I thought he had himself a nice game, but the hitting was stepped up to a whole nother level. He went from somebody that you considered a slight linebacker to being somebody that was absolutely playing at linebacker physicality levels.
He was making sure that the impact was felt on a lot of those swing passes. He was putting everything into it, and you love to see it. Another guy on the defensive side of the ball that has to get acknowledged and put into the Hurt Business, Contavious Street. That big sack, big hit on Jared Goff. You like seeing that from Contavious Street, first ever sack in a regular season game. I liked what I saw out of him, especially in some of the pass situations. He didn't play bad overall. I thought he had his moments, but that was a big moment and a big momentum swing for the 49ers, continuing to build on the control of the game they had at that point. And it's always good to stick one to a quarterback.
Yeah, and another one is an offensive player this time, and that's George Kittle, because George Kittle does what George Kittle does, and he absolutely pancaked 2 guys on one run play, dominating. So George Kittle had to be in the Hurt Business. I'm sure he enjoys the Hurt Business. He likes to bring the hurt to people. So we had to give George Kittle some recognition for that great blocks, as it turns out to be.
One
block. He doesn't just get one; he gets 2.
He gets 2 for the same block. That's impressive, my guy. George Kittle just continuing to expand. Another wideout also getting inducted is Deebo Samuel, not just because of the physicality that he has when he runs with the football, but on one of Elijah Mitchell's touchdown runs, or big runs, Deebo Samuel runs down the field, comes inside, and lays out, full body layout onto one of the corners, and the guy is reaching in to try and make a play, and Deebo just puts the hammer down on him and takes a situation where maybe the guy's able to trip up Mitchell and slow him down a little bit, to a situation where Mitchell ends up getting able to get a few more yards and try and run over and run through a couple other arm tackles. But Deebo Samuel just absolutely full body layout. And when you got a receiver full body laying out in space to make blocks, I would argue, Ant, that everyone has bought into the system.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyone's bought into the system.
You have to be a blocker if you're going to play for Kyle Shanahan at the wide receiver position.
Accurate.
And the last guy on the Hurt Business that we're going to induct for this game is Jaquiski Tartt. Tartt was coming up and separating man from ball, stopping people short of the sticks, getting involved with run blitzes around the line of scrimmage. It was a very nice performance from him. It was nice having somebody that was hitting at that level that he was able to play with. It was fantastic from Tartt, and overall, 5 guys in the Hurt Business means the 49ers were playing very physical, and that's what you want to see from your football team.
Absolutely. You need to see it from your football team. They came out, they laid the hammer down, they made sure they tried to assert themselves very early on. Granted, the Lions didn't fold. You tip your hats to them and Dan Campbell. They weren't going to be intimidated or bullied on this day, and they fought back. Good for them. But the Niners have showed also they're not a finesse team. This ain't no finesse football team here.
Yeah.
This is a team that can get nasty, can get gritty, can get downhill in a hurry, and will lay the hurt if you give them the opportunity to. So you got to watch out for these members of the Hurt Business, as well as more 49ers who are going to be inducted as the season progresses.
Oh, yeah. The Hurt Business is going to continue to grow. It's contagious. Hitting is contagious. I look forward to the big hits every week. Now, it's a little bit harder to get a big hit in the NFL now than it ever has been. But they were definitely out there making it happen, and it's exciting to watch. And that's part of football is the physicality, and then the emotion that comes from these big hits is something that everyone can feel. It's in shock waves, makes the hair on your skin stand up. It's exciting time. So yeah, I love the Hurt Business. I love the hitting. I'm looking forward to what the 49ers could do against Philly.
Absolutely. This week 2 now is exciting for a lot of reasons, right? Niners get a chance to build on their week 1 win, get a second win, get some revenge on a team that took one to them last year and stole one on prime time television, right? Can get it back on them. Also, a lot of questions going into this game now with Verrett going down, Greenlaw having some stuff that he's dealing with injury-wise. Javon Kinlaw, is he going to be healthy and good to go? Will Brandon Ayuk reemerge against the Eagles, kind of like he emerged last season, right, and had his big solidifying star potential play all over Brandon? Will Brandon Ayuk be ready to go and ready to build on that, rookie season performance against the Eagles? There's a lot of storylines, a lot of questions. The Shanaplan as well. Is it going to expand, or is this now Jimmy Garoppolo's teams? There's tons of questions to ask in Cutback Crew. Make sure you ask all of them down in the comments section below and let us know what you thought about this week 1 recap show against the Lions. You like us, right? You like what you saw. There's obviously some questions and things to fix, but it's week 1. We got lots of time to clean these things up. Or are you smashing the panic button, right? Last week, some injuries, you kicked the door open, you located it, and now after the Verrett injury and some of it, you're just smashing that thing into oblivion. We want to hear from you. Let us know in the comment section below, and while you're down there commenting away, don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't already, hit that notification bell as well. That way you're notified for all the daily content.
Yeah, you're going to want to hop over to Patreon this week as we do a bunch of breakdowns that are all 22 film. It's going to be an exciting week overall. There's going to be a lot of content coming to YouTube, Patreon. Get involved, get in the conversation. We're going to talk not only about what happened in Detroit, but what is going to happen in Philly. There's a lot of compelling matchups, a lot of compelling stories, and a lot of things the 49ers need to figure out along the way. The main thing is, can this team improve and get better as they go to Philly? I think they can, but they're going to have to make some adjustments, make some changes, and just execute at a little bit of a higher level. There was encouraging news, though, from the 49ers from what I saw at Detroit, and I'm looking forward to this continuing because that's what it is. It's not about playing your best football week 1, week 2. It's about playing your best football week 17 and heading into the playoffs. You're building towards that peak. Hopefully they can continue to do that, and all the while winning football games.
It's important. Getting those W's early on in the season especially helps you get that momentum and gives you that little bit of breathing room later in the season. So make sure you all tune in. Hop on over to the 49ers Cutback shop as well, so that way you can support your 40 freaking Niners. Rep the Cutback Crew merch. All of it there. There's wonderful stuff and more stuff on the way. Ant, this has been a lot of fun. Great week 1 recap. Maybe not the way everyone wanted it to end, but leading up to that fourth quarter, solid performance for the 49ers.
It's a W, baby. I'm taking it. I'm taking that W. Nobody has taken my happiness of getting that W away from me. I have it. I'm not letting go, and I'm ready to add W's to this fist of W's.
He wants all of the W's.
I do.
The 49ers Cutback is ready for all of the smoke as well, so make sure you throw it our way if you got it. And until next time, Cutback Crew and the faithful, stay safe.
Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.